Welcome to a special edition of the Jim Acosta show, which Fanone was just telling me people watch, and then that's it for news, which is astounding to me, but I appreciate it. We're doing a Fuck It Friday. Let's just get right to it, Mike. It's good to
Shitty
see you.
Friday.
It's been a little while.
Yeah, no, it's been a minute, man. We've both been busy guys.
I know. Congrats to you. I'm seeing your Substack is not only taking off, but you got a YouTube show that is really doing well. Congratulations on that. I'm excited for you on that. And you were saying you can now pay your bookie back, and what was something like that, right?
Right, pay off all my debts, pay my taxes.
You and me both. Hey.
Yeah,
But it's been a long time since we've done a Fuck It Friday, and it's time to bring it back. And it feels like that kind of a week. But the reason why I reached out to you this morning, I just to let everybody in onto the conversation, I called Mike this morning because I saw on Instagram, and your brother does the Instagram stuff with you, which is terrific. And I guess somebody left some actual shit outside your home. Is that what happened? This is another one of these MAGA assholes coming after you or something. What, can you tell us? I guess let's just start there. We'll get into everything else.
yeah. No, I just got up this morning, and I just recently moved to this location, and I'm out walking the dogs. Walked past my truck that was in the parking lot, and there's a plastic Wawa bag filled to the brim with shit. I'm assuming it was dog shit, but who the fuck knows? And
Yeah.
there
Some of
was a
these folks,
note.
they probably shit in a bag. So, you just never know.
Yeah, there was a note that said, "Don't get it twisted. This isn't political. You're just a piece of shit." And then there was a little smiley face. Um, so
What the
yeah,
fuck?
I mean, I wish I
It's
could
insane, but
say that.
it's probably political because why else would,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
the,
I mean, I just moved here, and I like to think of myself as a friendly neighbor. Um,
yep.
and yeah, no, that's and it's just like there's a history of this. For those of you who were not aware, several months ago, my mother had an individual pull up in a pickup truck and hurl a bag of shit at her
Yep.
while screaming, words to the effect of "Your son is a traitor," yada yada yada. And it's
Completely.
there have been incidents like this, that we've endured, my family and I, over the past 4 years. So
Yeah.
nothing new
No, I mean,
here.
somebody just emailed me the other day that I should go kill myself. And I mean, this has been going on for yours truly since 2017, basically ever since, Cuckoo had called me fake news. This has been my life, people impersonating loved ones and on social media to send me messages and, telling me that they're going to choke the shit out of me until I die and all of this stuff. And my old place, they didn't want me to ever really talk about it. I did end up writing a book about it and getting into it. But I know the reason why I always want to reach out to you when these kinds of things happen is so you know that you aren't alone and you've got backup. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
there are folks who care about you. You can see in the comments right now. And I know you're not looking for that, but you just need to know that.
No, I mean, I listen. It's I know that now.
Yeah.
When it first started happening to me, which again, for people that don't know, the first time that I ever received a threat was literally during my congressional testimony before the January 6th Select Committee. After I finished testifying and I left the hearing and had time to collect my thoughts, like while I was testifying, I was receiving phone calls, and there was a message, and I went on Don Lemon's show and we played the message in its entirety, and it was full of profanity and racial remarks and homophobic remarks. But again, it's this is what we're up against, so to
This
speak,
is
and
what
and
we're
these are the type of people that call themselves MAGA supporters and have joined the ranks of MAGA. And they really are some of the most despicable human beings that were ever produced.
They're brainwashed in many cases, and they've been, red pilled or whatever they want to call it. And I used to go through these threats, and then you would trace back, okay, who is this person who's leaving this threat? And you would trace it back to an Instagram account or a Facebook account, and there would be all this Christian stuff, and their favorite Bible verse and all of this stuff. And it makes me, wonder, what happened to these people? How did they end up in this? Somebody just said it's a violent cult. How did they end up in this violent cult? Being brainwashed into thinking that it's okay to treat other human beings in this fashion. I mean, Mike, you're absolutely entitled to your opinions.
Well,
And I
not
and
in
after everything you've been through, my God.
yeah, no, I mean not in Trump's America though. I mean that's
Yeah,
the whole point, and it's
yeah,
people need to recognize that it's a new normal.
yeah.
And
That's right.
what Trump and what so-called leaders in the MAGA movement do is they dehumanize people that voice opposition. People like yourself, people like me, uh, and they make it okay to do things like this or worse against us because we're not real human beings.
That's right. That's
We're
right.
we're traitors or work. And so that's how, this type of behavior has become commonplace for anyone really that speaks out in opposition to this administration and to the MAGA movement.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's the other reason why I wanted to talk to you, because people need to understand that what we're up against over the next several years. I mean, what's happening right now is a picnic compared to what we might be up against in the next several years. And you and I were talking about this morning. I want to branch off into this part of the conversation. And that is, I mean, the folks over at NPR, who, by the way, they're getting completely fucked right now,
Mhm.
came out with a great investigative piece where they discovered that in a senior advisor for the Department of Justice is a former January 6th defendant who urged rioters to, quote, kill police at the Capitol. This guy, Jared Wise. And there's video. If you haven't seen the video, folks, go check it out.
Mhm.
He's on video calling police officers Nazi and the Gestapo, and then a few seconds later, it cuts to him saying, "Kill them, kill them." And these are the people in the government right now. And this guy can't be it's not a one-off. We know this is not a one-off.
Right. No, I mean this whole weaponization um, think tank or whatever the hell they call it within the Department of Justice that
Yeah,
Jared Wise, the former FBI agent, who appears to have been radicalized and became a participant in the January 6th insurrection, an active participant. I mean, this is somebody who was encouraging other protesters to, like you said, kill the police. So let that sink in for a moment. And this individual is now uh, a employee of the Department of Justice, collecting a taxpayer-funded salary. Um,
that's right. And I
and then
should
and
note,
then
and NPR, they obtained the transcript of his testimony. He acknowledged that he repeatedly yelled, "Kill him," as officers were being attacked. Not to interrupt, but
yeah,
this is
no,
not, what he said, she said. He did this.
I think that in all the chaos that is the Trump administration, it's easy, I think, for people to lose sight of, you know, I wouldn't refer to it as a small thing, but in the grand scheme of things, this think tank and these individuals, it's not, huge, but, these are people that harbor some extremist viewpoints.
Yeah,
Um, you've got the head of this working group is Eagle Ed Martin, somebody who has, espoused white nationalist ideology, who has, participated in events which hosted, well known white Christian nationalists, white supremacists. And a person who tweeted out "No MAGA left behind" in the aftermath of Trump's presidential pardons for not only the 1,500 total insurrectionists, but the hundreds, more than 500 individuals who had committed acts of violence against uniformed police officers who were just doing their job on January 6th.
Yeah,
And so, again, I think it's important that the media, keeps this front and center because this is a huge component of Trump's administration.
that's right.
Individuals who previously were not given a seat at the table in any legitimate fashion because their viewpoints were anti-government and extremist.
Yeah,
And now they are part of the government.
that's right. The insurrectionists are running the government. And people
Yes.
need to understand that. The people who attacked the Capitol on January 6th, those are the type of people who are running the government right now. And um, that's part of what we're up against. And you and I were also having this discussion about the tactics being used by ICE. And I mean, I was talking about this with Maria Cardona yesterday. The fact that DHS put out this batshit crazy fascist looking Instagram post of this father and son working for ICE, and it says we're removing the age cap for ICE. So fathers and sons can go and bond together, and they actually used the term bonding as if you're going to go out and engage in male bonding with your son by rounding up Hispanic people and rounding up migrants. That is sick, sadistic shit, and it has to be called out as such. I'm sorry, And then the other day, what is this? I wanted to talk. We were talking about this. Operation Trojan Horse was conducted out in California, where they conducted this operation using a Penske truck. Insane.
I mean, and I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again for you. The tactics being utilized by ICE, and I try to defend law enforcement tactics, or at least explain
Yep.
law enforcement tactics as a former law enforcement officer. There is absolutely no legitimate explanation for the tactics that are being used by ICE. Um, it is disgraceful, and I'll be honest with you, Jim. It makes me embarrassed to have ever worn a badge as an American law enforcement officer.
Yeah.
These agents should be ashamed of themselves. I don't know
Yeah.
how they go home and look their children or their families in the eye after having engaged in this type of behavior. It's it just has absolutely no place in a democracy and no place on American streets. And the Penske truck thing was just it's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, it was there's no other way to describe it but buffoonery. And then
Yeah.
seeing these agents going out every day looking like they're about to raid Osama bin Laden's, hideout.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous seeing them jump out into a Home Depot parking lot and
Yeah, these big
chase.
bellied guys cosplaying, SEAL Team 6. You're exactly right. They act like they're carrying out a raid against Al Qaeda,
Or,
and they're rounding up
marching.
grandma or some guy working at a Home Depot or something.
Right, marching through. I mean, I forget the name of the park in downtown Los Angeles.
Yeah,
They got
MacArthur
these
Park.
guys on armored vehicles and horseback and all this shit to round up nobody because there was nobody in the goddamn park.
There's
All
nobody
done
there.
for all done for optics. All done to instill fear. But they're not just instilling and invoking fear in migrant communities. They're instilling and invoking fear in American cities.
Yeah,
And the reaction, I think, is very telling in that Americans don't want this.
they
You
do
can
not
be
want this.
you can
That's
be
right.
pro law enforcement
Yeah,
and not want to see this bullshit on your street or in your city. Because to me, what it says is, it says, listen, fuck you, Los Angeles. fuck your elected officials, fuck your governor of your state. We're going to come in as the federal government and do whatever the hell we want to do.
Yeah.
Which I, you know, as somebody who's vaguely familiar with what the Republican Party used to represent, isn't that go completely against the idea of federal intervention into,
Oh,
what is.
they don't give a shit about that anymore.
No,
The
I
whole
know.
states' rights and the rights of local governments, municipalities, that has been turned on its head. Right now,
Yeah,
Donald Trump not only wants federal control over states, he wants federal control over the District of Columbia.
right,
He apparently wants federal control over elections. He's going around and saying, "I want 5 congressional seats over here." Punchbowl had a story out this morning saying they're eyeing 12 congressional districts they want to claw back. So, I mean, folks, this is not even a democracy anymore. If they can rig our congressional districts in the middle of a presidency, so the opposition party doesn't have a chance to win power in the upcoming midterms, what the fuck is going on here?
right. And then you create this environment, you know, of escalatory behavior. And it's
Yeah,
like an arms race with, congressional seats where, you know, Trump is going to do that. And then the Democrats have two choices: either bend over and take it, or we can do the same thing. But in Trump's, MAGA ecosphere, they're not going to pay any attention to what he's doing and what the Republicans are doing. They're only going to pay attention to what Democrats do in response. And then there is then that further delegitimizes the Democratic Party in the MAGA's eyes, and then
exactly.
I guarantee you're going to see people committing acts of violence like this country has never experienced, because they really are going to see real time what they believe is the Democratic Party trying to steal elections, even
Yes.
though it's just a reaction.
You're absolutely right. And I was talking about this yesterday. I was, if California jumps in and does this, and Illinois jumps in and does this, and New York jumps in and does this, and it becomes such a goddamn hot, steaming pile of shit next year heading into the midterms, and it goes to the courts and everything, Trump can just step in and say, this is so out of control. Maybe we just shouldn't have midterms this cycle. And the whole fucking thing is off. And I'm telling you, people need to wake up and understand that the way he thinks is not in line with this country. It's not in line with this country. And my guess is that he is thinking he can stir up such a shitstorm that everything becomes so uncertain that maybe things do get sorted out, but it takes months. Or, the Republicans who are in control of Congress say, hey, wait a minute, what can we do to stop this? And it goes to the Supreme Court. He's got a 6-3
Mhm.
majority in the Supreme Court. It worries me a great deal. And it's one of the reasons why we don't do this shit in the middle of, he wants to redo the census because he wants to redo congressional districts through the census. He wants to hang on to power. It's why he is redoing the White House like Liberace's wet dream. You know what I mean? It just is fucking unbelievable, and he doesn't want to go.
Yeah, no, I don't think he has any plans of going. I think that he plans on spending the rest of his years inside of the White House. But you're right. And then I worry that, I mean, you've got. I just lost my train of thought.
Yeah. I threw you off with Liberace. I'm sorry about that.
No, because you said Liberace, and then I remember seeing the movie, and then I was like, I wonder why Trump hasn't made Melania get plastic surgery to look just like him.
That's so true. Remember that? That was such a crazy movie with Michael Douglas, and I think it was Matt Damon.
It just came on the other day too, and I
Yeah.
was like, it just gets
That's
weirder every time you see it. But yeah,
Yeah,
there's
but
some
that's
parallels
what
there.
Mar-a-Lago looks like. It looks like Liberace's house at what was it, the Mirage or whatever in Las Vegas, or those are the Tiger guys. I get it all confused. But anyway, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
fucking Friday. The references don't have to be perfect. They don't have to be factually accurate. It's fucking Friday.
Close
Uh,
enough.
and you still got your Orioles hat on, even though they just like my Nationals completely shut the bed this season. You're a
Yeah, it's
dedicated
rough.
fan.
it's been a rough. I still love them, and I love the new ownership, but I'm a
Yeah,
diehard O's fan, man.
I hear
Um,
you. I hear you. No, I'm with you. But the reason why I think there's a through line through all of this that goes back to your bag of shit is because people have been so desensitized to how to treat people in a decent way. To just treat people like other human beings. And we're all guilty of it at times. I'm guilty of it at times. You know, nobody's perfect, but it's become institutionalized. It's the reason why ICE behaves the way it does. Um, they've brought these people into the Trump administration to execute Project 2025. I mean, and I don't know how we untangle this. I don't know how we get ourselves out of this. It really does concern me.
yeah, I I mean, you stumped me on that one. I don't have a.
Well, you were saying earlier you think you might understand the mentality of some of these ICE officers and what they may be saying to one another when they go out and do these kinds of raids and
I mean,
conduct
there's
themselves.
been.
And, yeah,
I don't even have to surmise. I mean, there's been
yeah,
video footage released of some of the roll calls in which a handful of ICE officers are pushing back against what leadership is telling them to do, and unfortunately, the vast majority of them seem to be you know enjoying their newfound freedom to go out and pretty much do whatever the hell that they want to do
yeah,
in furtherance of I guess what's been reported as Stephen Miller's 3,000 a day quota for obtaining guys. And there's a piece that came out. I think it was the New York Times that reported it. I talked about it on my in Substack and also on my YouTube show that they were offering. There was an internal email that went out inside of
yeah,
ICE in which they offered $200 to any ICE agent that was able to deport an individual within a week, and $100 if it took 2 weeks. Now,
yeah,
that email was out for about 4 hours before they rescinded it with a simple disregard. Um, but they didn't do it because somebody realized that that was inhumane, disgusting, and illegal. They did it because they were worried about getting caught, which they did.
yeah.
And so I think that speaks to the character of ICE leadership, and I think it speaks to the internal culture within that agency that something like that um, could be said and could occur. And again, you're putting bounties on human beings, the vast majority of which their sole crime is wanting a better life for themselves and their families, and having difficulty jumping through the insane hoops that it takes to become a an American citizen.
Yeah, I mean the actor Dean Cain apparently wants to become an ICE agent, and I'm like, dude, you're probably gonna have to drop about 30 pounds to pull that off. But I don't
He
want,
fits. He fits it. He'll fit in perfectly.
yeah,
He's a racist piece of shit, washed up Hollywood guy turned Fox News, you know, show host, and now he can, go and be a racist on the streets of LA.
yeah, yeah. He is the Superman dude. Somebody was just asking, is that Superman? Yeah, it is the
Right.
Superman dude, but not the current one. The current one's actually pretty good. I don't know. But anyway, the other thing, the reason why I think Trump is freaking out, and I've talked about this probably for the last month, he's totally freaked out about Jeffrey Epstein. I don't know, you and I haven't really talked about this, but I guess we were talking about it a little bit on the phone earlier this morning. You were kind of wondering, well, how the fuck did this not bubble up as a bigger issue for him sooner than now? And it's true. I think there's some truth to that. I think when they tried to sweep it under the rug about a month ago, everybody said, "Wait a minute, what you were going to release the files of this stuff?" And I guess what they found out was, because if you look at the timeline, back in May was when they briefed him and said, "Oh yeah, by the way, Mr. President, you're in the Epstein files." Um, I think that's part of the reason why he's freaked out. I think that's part of the reason why they don't want these congressional districts slipping to the Democrats, and they don't want the Democrats to seize power because the Republicans might pretend right now that they're going to get the Epstein files just to sort of stall for time, but they're not going to do that in any kind of way that hurts Trump, where they're all fucked. So it's going to take Democrats taking over.
It's going to take Democrats taking over. And I mean, you look at, like, listen, we're in a lawless era in this country where we have a Department of Justice, and we have a Federal Bureau of Investigation, the two premier federal law enforcement agencies in this country that are subservient to and wholly, uh, you know, in allegiance with Donald Trump.
Yeah,
And so the idea that, that whether Trump is in there or not, and I happen to believe that he most certainly is, and that he's committed some pretty egregious crimes in his lifetime against children, he won't be held accountable for it because they're just not going to let that information get out.
yeah,
And so, then what do you do? If they release it, it'll be,
redacted.
fuck redacting it. They'll just get rid of those pages.
Yeah,
That, and
yeah.
I
The
mean, just
people
like
who
it
are in
got
charge of releasing the files are the fuckers who are going to cover it up.
right. Exactly. And it just, and I really do, I feel for the victims who
Yeah,
have, had to live through this and then see it become politicized and literally just, watch half of America treat them as, as if they are, their experience is not real, that they are, leftists, whatever Donald Trump discounts those that accuse him of illegal acts, like
yeah,
myself. When
right.
I testified before Congress, I immediately became a leftist plant. And to have experienced what I went through on January 6th, and then to have 50% of America discount it and even demonize me for it, I feel for them.
Yeah,
I really do, and their families.
no question about it. Me too. And their feelings and their pain and what they went through, their experiences were not taken into consideration when they moved Ghislaine Maxwell, the ex-girlfriend, to a minimum security prison. Are you fucking kidding me? I mean, I'm sorry, but you've moved a child molester to a minimum security prison, somebody who molested children, molested underage girls, and sex trafficked them. Anybody who
Right.
needs to understand, you can do all the reading or watch the documentaries and so on, understand what Ghislaine Maxwell was convicted of doing. And she's a known perjurer. She's a known liar. And they moved her to a minimum security prison after she spoke to Todd Blanche. What does that tell you? It tells you that she's gonna do what they want her to do. And it might not be enough to convince everybody, but it'll be enough to convince the MAGA influencers and the brainwashers and the cult.
Absolutely. And then, we'll see what, I mean, unfortunately, only time will tell what type of deal is arranged. I would surmise that it probably something that comes to fruition either after the midterms, or after, the next presidential election. But I again, the mere fact that she was moved to a minimum security facility, which, my understanding is that, despite Donald Trump's claims that this is a normal practice, this is not a normal practice, because being moved to a minimum security facility requires that you meet certain types of, you know, there's boxes that need to be checked.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
one of
She
them
doesn't
that
meet the
prevents
requirements.
that,
Yeah,
is simply being in prison for being a child molester and a sex trafficker. And
yeah,
so this is not normal. To say that again about this administration, this is not normal. Nothing that this administration does is normal. And it's, fine time that mainstream media starts addressing that appropriately,
yeah.
though they seem incapable of handling that task.
Yeah, I mean, when you watch these press conferences now, I mean, it's pretty infuriating to watch because a couple of people will ask questions. And then, somebody else will chime in and say, oh, well, what about Vladimir Putin coming? Or what about the
Right.
tariffs? And it's like, guys, you gotta follow up each other's questions for Christ's sake.
Right.
Am I the asshole here? Like, somebody needs to jump in and say, Mr. President, have you had sex with an underage girl? Why are you so worried about the Epstein files? You said you were going to release the Epstein files. Why haven't you done it? And if he says it's a hoax and so on, you say it's not a hoax. You were friends with Jeffrey Epstein. How the fuck can it
Right.
be a hoax?
Yeah. Maybe you need to get your press credential back. And
Yeah, that's never going to happen. That's
um,
never going to happen. I'd have to, you know, figure out another way inside, which, might get me sent off to the El Salvadoran gulag or something, but they'll take away my citizenship. Yeah, I mean, I think that's what he's really. I think that's kind of the whole ball game here, and it makes me really worried because if he's that desperate, then he'll do anything.
I mean,
Um,
listen, I think that I don't think that the Epstein files was a planned distraction.
yeah,
But I also feel as though, where we're at today versus where we were at when this whole thing, exploded, what, 2, 3 weeks ago. I mean, look at how things have quieted down and calmed down, and how, people in MAGA world have learned to, twist themselves once again into pretzels to justify. And at the end of the day, it's
yeah.
like he calls it a hoax, and that's more than enough for most in MAGA world. The
Oh, those
influential
idiots are now.
folks.
Those idiots are now. They're chasing this Obama treason bullshit. They're Pam Bondi and Tulsi Gabbard, and Pam Bondi, who sounds like I've said this before. I'll say it. She sounds like Ricky Bobby's girlfriend in Talladega Nights. I'm a racer's wife. I don't work. I don't work.
No,
They they peddle this nonsense, and then the MAGA influence. People want to understand what's happening. I had this lady on earlier this week, Juliet, who runs Decoding Fox News, and she went through like 1,000 minutes of their primetime coverage and Fox and Friends and so on. They did like 5 segments on Epstein, but they do segment after segment on Obama and all this other bullshit, and it's very difficult to penetrate that that bubble,
yeah,
And anyway, I,
yeah, I don't think that the Epstein thing is going to end up, being the
you don't think that
you know
because they'll. I just wonder if it comes out that he did have sex with an underage girl, will MAGA somehow try to explain it away?
you should
It
you
scares me
should.
to think that, but
Yeah, no, I mean, I listen. I think MAGA world is capable of justifying any action that President Trump, commits, simply because he's the guy that's, you know, fighting for whatever issues are seemingly important to them.
yeah,
And unfortunately, I think a lot of it just comes down to uh, racism and a racist view of what America, could be and should be.
right,
And I mean, how do you defeat that? How do you fight? I mean, we've already seen, like, look at all the Americans that have been, had their lives turned upside down by this administration that supported him in the past. Whether it's, my spouse was deported, or, I lost, tariffs are ruining my business and destroying my job. But, as
yeah,
long as Trump keeps giving me somebody to blame, whether it's the Democratic Party, whether it's people of color, whether it's immigrants, then I'm fine. I'm okay because I've got somebody to point the finger at and to call a piece of shit. And I mean, let's be honest, my life was tough during, all the previous administrations. And so at least Trump gives me somebody to blame. And there you have.
yeah. Well, I mean, I'm for the folks who are tuning in late. One of the reasons why Mike and I are talking today is, this horrendous thing that was done to you, where somebody left a bag of shit outside your home and so on. I don't want you to ever think that you're alone or you're fighting this battle by yourself. You know what I mean? You got people on your side. I'm on your side. We're going to fight through this thing together.
Well,
And
I know.
I think that's what we have to do.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it's there's a community of us that have experienced what we've experienced. But I actually coincidentally I got involved in this organization called Home of the Brave,
Yeah.
and the the whole premise is giving voices to people that have been wronged by this administration, whose lives
Right.
have been turned upside down, who, and the, part of it is, you know, Trump policies. And part of it, some of a component of that is people who have, experienced, violence or threats because of their willingness just to speak out within their own communities. And so, yeah, I know there's a lot of people out there um, that are that are going through this. Maybe not to the level that you or I or some others have experienced, but
Yeah.
it's not a one off, and it's a sad state of affairs here in the good old U.S. of A.
It is, but for you and I saying repeatedly throughout all this, we don't know how we get out of this. I mean, we're not giving up either.
No,
That's the other part of this.
no, I
No,
mean the
not
stuff
even
like this is
close.
like it's like it, it's it's disconcerting. I mean, I got my kids here with me, and God
Yeah.
forbid, like they were the ones walking the dog this morning and found that, you know, and the note on my
On the,
truck. You know, it's that's
yeah.
pretty sick thing to think about. But for me, it's just like I, now I'm going to talk about this shit until people are sick of fucking hearing about it.
Good.
I'm going to let people know, and I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm not going
Yeah.
anywhere.
Yeah.
I just, and I hope that my courage inspires other people to do the same thing, knowing just what you said, Jim, which is like there's a whole army of us out there that will have your back if
That's right.
if something like this is to happen.
That's right. And I think, it kind of redefines Fuck It Friday, because Fuck It Friday is more than just we just come on and say fuck. Okay.
Right.
People need to understand that. And listen, I get a lot of comments from people, and there's a nice lady who left a message the other day on Substack, and I don't understand why you're so enamored with the word fuck. Listen, I'm not enamored with it. But Fuck It Friday is more than just, you and I come on and use salty language. It's a battle cry. It's a
It
battle
is.
cry. And I want people to understand we're not giving up to the shitbag brigade. We're not giving up to the shitbaggers. They can drop a bag of shit wherever they want. And I'm sorry that they can't think of something more creative than that. Their mind hasn't expanded enough. But we're not backing down.
Well, let's not give them any ideas, Jim. If they want to keep putting bags of shit, all that takes is me putting on a rubber glove and throwing it in the goddamn trash basket. So I'll
That's the
take
good
that
point.
over a bullet
I'm not,
any day.
that's true. That's a good point. That's a very good point. If all they can come up with is bag of shit, then it's like, sir, gosh, you really hurt our feelings with the bag of shit. Please just keep leaving bags of shit. But fuck it to me is a battle cry. And it's like, fuck it, we're not giving up on this country. Fuck it, we're not giving up on our kids. Fuck it, we're not giving up on elections in this country. Fuck it, we're not giving up on democracy in this country. Fuck it, we're not giving up on you and me. We're not going to fucking do it. Fuck,
No.
fuck, fuck.
Yep. And fuck them.
fuck the, fuck the, fuck the shitbaggers. Fuck the shitbaggers. And this might be a show where this might be a conversation where I've said fuck more than you've said fuck. Have you gotten soft on me, Fanone?
No, man. I got a lot of, I, I was worried after the town hall where, I went pretty hardcore in that town hall, and I think I let loose with a side of myself, which has been here ever since I could say 4-letter words. But I think it
So you're
might
trying to behave yourself with me.
like a shock to conscience of you can just to everybody use your imagination as to all the things that are going through my head as to what I would like to say and or do to this person that you know, put shit on my car, threw shit at my mother,
Yes.
all of those things. And if
Yeah.
you imagine them and then cross that with like the stuff that happens in like Dante's Inferno,
Yeah.
like that's kind of where my head is at all times.
Yeah. And no, and I know you felt that way after the town hall, but in no way, shape, or form was I at all concerned about that. Just so you know, and I'll sign a contract that says so, or whatever you want, a deposition or whatever you want me to say that. But no, and I'm deadly serious about this. I'm deadly serious about this because I mean, it was a couple days ago. I had this author on who wrote this book about the 80th anniversary of Hiroshima, and we were talking through some pretty important stuff, and um, I'm not justifying dropping the bomb on Hiroshima or anything like that. But we went through this conversation, and this historian Garrett Graff he lays out, the Nazis were trying to get the bomb too.
Mhm.
We beat them to getting the bomb, and but the larger story there is that an entire generation of people in this country cared about this country so much they all had to say fuck it. They sent their young men off to die, on the beaches of Normandy. They went off to the factories, and instead of making cars, they started making, bombers. And people will say, "Oh, well, I don't know if we have it in us. Are we that kind of generation? We're too addicted to our phones and everything else, and we could never. We don't have a fucking choice, folks. We
Yep.
don't have a choice. This is it. We are going to have to. We're going to have to put on our big boy and big girl pants and save this country. That's just all there is to it."
Yeah. No, I agree, man. I think like I applaud these Texas lawmakers that have fled Texas, to avoid participating in this, outrageous act of gerrymandering. Which, listen, I get it. Both sides gerrymander. We talked about that
Yeah.
earlier. But in this concern about an escalation and whatnot, which I think is the point that I was trying to make that I've lost my train of thought.
Oh yes.
But
Yeah.
it's like,
It's a good point.
okay, what happens if when Trump, because I do believe that whether it's the FBI or some agency or contractors, whatever the case may be, that they do try to make an attempt to arrest these individuals and transport them back to Texas. um you know when are we going to draw the line? um
I agree.
when are we going to draw the line and start taking to the streets in such massive numbers, walking out on our jobs, shutting down the country because we're losing our foothold in anything that in any way resembles a democracy. um and I'm around people all the time that are
Yeah.
invested and that are prepared to be arrested, prepared to be, assaulted by police officers for trying to protest. But there's too many, I think, that are indifferent. And
Yeah,
I
when they're
would,
talking about when they're talking about rounding up, using the FBI to round up state lawmakers,
right.
give me a break. In what way did these state lawmakers commit a crime? The FBI is not the secret police. It's not. We're not talking about Putin's thugs going out and rounding people up because of what you're talking about, civil disobedience, so on. That's basically what these lawmakers have done. It's an act of civil disobedience.
Well, I
And
mean, the other thing is, not to interrupt you, Jim, but
yeah,
this is what all of us have been demanding from the Democratic Party. We've
yes,
been demanding civil disobedience. We've been demanding action. We've been screaming about it. We took to the streets in the No Kings protests.
right,
We've finally found a group of Americans that are willing to put their money where their mouth is and risk, you know, detention, risk legal action, arrest, or worse. And, we need to back them up. We need to support them. It shouldn't just be, the governor of the state of Illinois out there preventing their apprehension. It should be every democracy loving American out there preventing any type of intervention from the federal government or anyone else for that matter.
yeah.
I mean, this is, th- this
Well,
is
if Barack Obama were to send the FBI after people, can you imagine if Barack Obama sent the FBI after a bunch of Republican state lawmakers? They would be
oh,
screaming
the,
in the halls
the
of Congress.
the Tea Party at that time would have set fire to every state capital and just,
Yes,
it would have
they would have
been
burned the country down.
yeah, absolutely. But you remember the Tea Party is now embedded within, a lot of the nut jobs from that time period are now embedded in this administration. And it's full steam ahead when it comes to tearing down the federal government and trampling all over the Constitution.
Yeah. No, Donald Trump, I mean, he's going for broke, folks. And and he has said fuck it. People need to understand that. He has said fuck it. He knows he can pack on all the crazy orange makeup and he can have all the hairdressers, all the king's hairdressers and all the king's men can work on that fucking whatever the fuck that is up here and they can put all the gold shit on the walls and everything. He has said fuck it. And so we
Yeah.
must say fuck it.
Yep.
I think that's it. That's the ball game. If people need to understand what's at stake here. He has said fuck it, and they have said.
Yeah.
By the way, they said fuck it years ago, and
Yeah.
the rest of the country is just waking up to that.
Yeah. Um, and it just, it comes down to, just like you were talking about in the years leading up to World War II, what is this country prepared to do? Not to defend democracy overseas, but literally to defend democracy here on our own, in our own
Yeah.
country.
Yeah. Well, Mike, on that note, I think we should both say fuck it and start the weekend here. I'm heading off to. There's a cocktail waiting for me over on the Eastern Shore, so I'll see you on the other side. But always good to talk to you, my friend.
Hey, it's blue crab season, man. Great, get some of those.
I'm going to eat that shit like it's going out of style. That's what's going to happen.
All right, buddy.
All right, Mike. Good to see you. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. That's my
Thank you.
friend, Mike Fanone, my my partner in Fuck It Crime. Um, everybody have a great weekend. Really appreciate you tuning in all week long. I just woke up this morning and this is what happened. I looked at Mike's Instagram and his wonderful brother Peter had posted this video of Mike and what he had found. And I just hope the folks out there understand that a bag of shit is not going to thwart it, what we're doing here. And, for folks who are like, oh, he says fuck a lot. What is this? It's not a newscast. No, this is not a newscast, ladies and gentlemen. This is my show. Where I do the news and I give you information, but I also exactly what that comment was right there. I also want you to understand that there are people out here like Mike and I who hear you, that we are not going to let the bastards get us down, that we are not going to let this country turn into a bag of shit. And we understand that the president of the United States, which I don't call him that very much because I don't think he deserves to be called that. We understand that he has said fuck it. And so we must say fuck it too. Because we're on the right side of history. We're on the right side of this struggle to save this democracy, to save this country before it goes down the tubes. And that's not to put us up on a pedestal. That's not to put us up on Mount Olympus or anything. That's not what I'm talking about. We're talking about preserving and protecting the American way of life. We're not giving this up to a bunch of masked thugs in the back of a Penske truck. We're not giving up to the shitbaggers. The shitbaggers need to understand. You can fill up as many bags of shit that you want, however you want to do it. But we're not taking your shit because now we're saying fuck it too. My thanks to Mike Fanone, still reporting from Washington. I'm Jim Acosta. Have a great weekend. Take care. Bye-bye.